up, everybody? My name is Justin. I go by HAPP G, and we're here today to talk about VIRO the Virus. You know, I met VIRO back in the Philly scene. VIRO rep Jersey hard, but you know, he was around the Philly scene a lot. But I met him once or twice. You know, I remember we were actually in this Repo the Lost Causes Sound of Philadelphia music video. There's some awkward shots of us sitting in a playground, bobbing our heads on a bench and stuff. And I think we're in some shots together. So I'd seen the dude and was cool with him to say what up. You know, VIRO was always a little more quiet, so he was you know, I'd always said hello to him, but I didn't really build with him or talk to him too much. But I remember in particular, there was one night that Slim and him had a performance. I remember seeing them up on stage and they both killed it. And I knew Slim was dope, but I hadn't really noticed VIRO before that moment. You know, I'd seen the name. I always thought the name was dope. I was like, VIRO the Virus. I was like, that shit's just kind of badass. I always thought that was a sick name. But that was the first time that I really saw him, and I was like, yo, that guy's nice. And then it was a year or two later, seeing him at some more shows, and I had started building with Caliph a little bit more. And around that time, I think they were starting to work on Jersey's Finest. And there was some talk about me contributing some tracks, doing some work on it. And for some reason, it just never materialized. I like to blame Caliph for everything. It was his fault. But, you know, I probably flaked on it, he flaked on it. You know, things just don't happen. But I remember when that album did finally drop, checking it out and just being like, you know, I wish I was involved with this because it was dope. And around that time, I remember there was a performance back when the Kyber actually, you know, had shows, performances, and he just killed it. The whole set was just you know, I remember that. That was and I remember watching his set, and I was just all right, whatever happens, we're making this happen. I think I pulled Caliph aside after, and we kind of were yo, let's stop bullshitting, and we set a date, you know, a couple days later. So we went out to Caliph's basement, and for those of you lucky enough to have ever been to Caliph's basement back in the day, his parents' crib, this place was it's the Willy Wonka, you know, it's the chocolate factory for a music lover, a video game lover, just underground hip hop. I mean, it's kind of recreated down here now, but I think, no offense to right here, the old crib basement was ridiculous. It had 2, you know, arcade video games, and I mean, it was a crazy little, you went down there and you knew you were just gonna be able to lose 6 or 7 hours just kind of listening to stuff and playing shit, chilling. So we just listened to beats all day long, and he kept coming back to this one beat, and that turned out to be Repo Man. I came back to Caliph's a couple weeks later. It might have been a couple days later, to be honest with you. And I think he kept me in the dark a little bit and was just yeah, he did some stuff on some of your beats, you know. And I came back and he was yeah, he did 5 of them, and he just played them, and they were all finished. I was just really happy to be involved like that, and you know, really proud of all those songs. When he finally came through and did that song and verse for me for that compilation, you know, it's so cliche, but he went in and he did the whole song in one take. And I think he even recorded the hook live, he did the verses, did the hook live, went into the next verse, and then he just added on a little on the hooks. I don't even think he added anything to the verses. And the cool thing about that was kind of my concept that I sort of bounced around with him that day when he was originally going through beats for what ended up being my work on the Sharpest blade. And to see what he did with the little seedling of a concept we kind of came up with and how he fleshed it out, and that he came and showed up so prepared that he did it in one take was just really dope and really kind of startling. Wow, this guy's really fucking good. That's the other thing. So for this remix project, you know, Caliph told me we're trying to remix the whole first album, the ARZ NOVA project. And truth be told, I have that and I've listened to it, but I'm not as familiar with that as some of VIRO's other work. So it was kind of cool. You know, Caliph said, check out all the songs and let me know if you have a specific one you kind of want. And I really wanted to jump on that. So I went through and I kind of dug into that album, and immediately that song Welcome just jumped out at me. You know, maybe it's the Merlin reference or whatever. It's just that his flow on that, I could just hear, and the lines and the patterns on it, and the lyrics are just so ridiculous. I just was wow, this is a really good one. So I requested that one. Luckily, nobody else had jumped on that. And, you know, I got the acapella, and I was just riding with the acapella for a while, which was tough a little bit too, you know, because it's you know, dude's not here anymore, and you know, you kind of, there's some sadness with that, but it's at the same time, here's his voice still breathing life and having another opportunity to like be introduced to some people, which is really cool. So my last viral story is like the one that actually is, to me, the funniest. Is the first time my wife Amy met Viro was at a show I was putting together at Silk City, you know, and he was performing on it. And like early in the night, Amy noticed that someone had walked into the bathroom behind Viro, that he had like left the bathroom door unlocked. And she kind of mentioned something to me about it casually, and then I was standing with her, and we saw Viro like, you know, a little bit later going to the bathroom, and then like a couple minutes, you know, moments later, you know, like a sitcom, you know, some chick opens the door, oh, I'm sorry, you know, and pops out. And we look at each other and we're just like, that can't be a coincidence. Like there's something more to this. Like, what's going on here? So we literally like stake out across the bathroom at Silk City, just sort of like, you know, drinking our drink, just kind of trying not to stare, but like observing every time Viro goes back to the bathroom. And lo and behold, at least like 5 additional times, maybe like, it might have been like 9 or 10 times total in the night. Every time he went in the bathroom, he left the door unlocked. And like, I think 9 out of 10 times a chick followed him in. So we were like wondering, was this like a picking up women's strategy? You know, I think, but it was so funny, and it didn't seem harmful or anything. It wasn't like he was in there like, you know, like, you know, doing some like, it was like, I don't know, but it just seemed, there was so much of a mystery about it. Like, does he just not believe in locking the bathroom door? Like, is it a strategy? Like, now, when I think about Viro, that's like one of those random stories that just pops up. You know, my wife will still kind of laugh about that. We're just like, what was that? You know, what was he doing there? And since then, I tried, you know, I tried myself, and actually that's how I met my wife. So I have to thank him for the strategy, you know. Yeah, but in listening to it recently, you know, digging back into some of this stuff, you know, and a lot of these remixes, the dude's music is very timeless. Like, his lyrics don't sound dated. You don't listen to it and you're like, oh, that's so 2003 or something. You know, he kind of like exists in his own space a little bit, which I think is what's really dope. And people who really like his music and the artist that he was, they realize that like there's a unique lane that he had for himself, which I think is just really dope. And that's hip hop. You know, you're not supposed to sound like everybody else. You're supposed to have your own sound, your own feel, and your own flavor, and not try to copycat everybody else's shit. And like, one thing about Viro is like, you could tell this was a guy who was never gonna copy anybody else. He was just a dude like that.
Yo, an abstract rap resurgence, attacking your nerves with word whirlwinds. Spellcaster, black absurd version of Merlin, with nose to the grindstone, the vocal cyclones and freeform flow storms that's abnorm off the atrium. Saying his statements plated titanium, invading craniums to stab your brainstem with safety pins, making it cringe like visions of ancient Arabian Homo sapiens on a pork bacon bin.